Welcome to episode 689 of the Entertainment 2.0.
See, it's been so long, we can't even do it.
So long, I can't even get the word podcast out of my mouth. Yep, it's the Entertainment 2.0 podcast. That's what we're doing here. Brought to you by the digitalmediazone.com. I'm Josh Pollard, the guy who can't say words.
And I'm Richard Gunther, and we are back from another hiatus. This is the show that puts you in control of your favorite movies, music, shows, and games. And thank you for bearing with us.
Yes, thank you for still subscribing, even though it's been a heck of a few weeks, especially for me. Richard gets all of the excuses because I think pretty much every week we've missed has been my fault. So it's been a month, guys, but I'm happy to be back. And we've got some fun listener feedback. We've got some interesting stories. I was going to say fun, but there's at least one that is really not fun to talk about. So let's get right into it with some listener feedback. First one from Just Me on Blue Sky reached out to both Richard and I and said, I listened to the latest pod, and he sent us this message the day after we recorded it. Which is a long time
so this
ago.
Was probably a little bit more than a month ago.
Right. He said, regarding Max and sports, we're going to come back to Max. What's Max? I don't even know what Max is. I was watching, this was related to me using Sling TV to watch the Stanley Cup Finals on TNT and being very the disappointed is the word I'm looking for in the video quality of the TNT feed. And he said, because I wasn't sure if it would have looked better on Max, he said, regarding Max and sports, I believe I read that they broadcast sports on Max in 4K, unlike TNT, which is just in HD. So,
good to know.
Would have been good to know. Yeah. He also said, and I don't know if this is still true, but that Sunday Ticket is doing a special for military, vets, teachers, nurses, first responders on the website id.me. It is literally like I just said it. It's not .com or anything like that. It's id.me. 50% discount for YouTube TV and for YouTube. That's a crazy discount. Like, okay, YouTube Premium, that's not going to set you back that much, but YouTube TV is $84 a month, if I'm remembering. It's 80-something per month.
It's ridiculous.
So, although I guess this is actually, I'm reading this wrong. I'm saying this all wrong. See how long it's been since I've podcasted? The discount is on Sunday Ticket, not on YouTube TV. It is on Sunday Ticket, which is still a very, very expensive service.
Yeah.
For watching all of the football games available to you. So, this is going to save you a huge chunk of change. If you're in the military, a vet, a teacher, a nurse, or a first responder, go and look for this if you're a football fan, and that applies to you.
And hopefully it's still there. Again, this is weeks later, so we don't know if it is or not. And by the way, for those of you who aren't familiar with ID.me, it probably sounds a little fishy. It's going to ask you to prove your identity with an ID, like uploading images of some form of ID. So you may question, is this legit? It actually is a federal system for digital IDs. So yes, it is absolutely legit. The federal government uses it for IDs for access to multiple sites. It's how you can log into Social Security Administration and a bunch of other organizations now. So you do not have to worry about that being real.
Right. It is absolutely real. Yeah.
All right. The next message that we have is from Kevin, also about a month ago. And he says, hi, guys. I recently purchased a 75-inch Vizio TV for my garage. Cue Richard wondering why someone would need a 75-inch TV for the garage. Actually, I don't question that.
I like this idea a lot.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. The reason for the 75-inch TV in the garage is that I use it for training classes that I offer for people to learn how to run a CNC mill. Now, yes, pay attention.
Yeah.
We do the CAD CAM portion of the class as they follow what I do on the TV, and then we go to the machine and produce the parts we model. Very, very cool. He says, I added an arm wall mount so that I can position the TV as needed for better viewing in the class. The TV has AirPlay 2, makes broadcasting my computer screen a breeze, no cables, easily folds out of the way of my car. That's always important. And I can position the TV so I can view it from pretty much anywhere in the garage. I'm happy with everything about the TV, especially the $550 I paid for it, which is a really nice price for a 75-inch TV, with the exception of the sound. The speaker quality is terrible. I don't want to do a complex speaker setup in the garage. Is there an affordable, easy-to-use wireless setup that you might recommend? A soundbar could be an option, but I'd prefer 4 or 5 wireless speakers and a sub if possible. He adds that he owns a Bose Acoustimass 5.1 speaker set that has been sitting on a shelf since COVID and when they moved into the house, and it's not in use. But he says, I'm not sure if I want to put that system in the garage. Seems a little too nice for the garage. Have any good recommendations? So my first question is, do you plan on using the Bose system anywhere else? Because if you don't, it's better used in a garage than not at all.
You're saying it might sound better actually connected to something than sitting on, yeah. Yeah, I agree. So my first thoughts here, Richard, were either A, just use the Bose because you've already got, because they won't cost you anything. And almost, I was going to say literally anything, but almost anything on the planet is going to sound better than the TV speakers built into the TV.
Yep.
The next easiest option is for sure the soundbar. And then you can just mount it right to the TV/arm, hopefully. And then it's always out of the way. You don't have to worry about running that over with your car or any complicated wiring or anything like that. But the bigger question is, why? What is it you're using it for? Because if it's just for these classes and you want the people who are watching the TV to be able to hear better out of that, like, I don't know if you're using a microphone but that's probably not the case. If that were the case, then go with the soundbar because it's super easy and they're all looking in the direction of the TV anyway.
Mm-hmm.
If you're watching TV and if you're like Richard and you've just got YouTube videos up on the TV while you're working on your mill, then the speakers also probably don't matter that much in quality. You just want it to be better than the TV and ideally pointed at you instead of the speakers on your TV that are pointed at the wall. So then go with the soundbar. But if you're looking for, I really want good music in here while I'm working out in the garage, then I think you consider something better. Any other reason though, and I think you just go with either the speakers you've already got and deal with running the wires because it's a garage and it's probably a lot easier to do that there anyway, or the soundbar. What am I missing, Richard?
Well, I would ask what ecosystem he's in to think about whether it makes sense to maybe buy some speakers that are a part of that ecosystem, and maybe he could cast the audio to those from the television. So, for example, if he uses Google Home, then maybe some Nest speakers might be a good way to get decent sound in the garage. I mean, those Nest speakers, I think, are still $100 a piece. You could have 2 of them. You have to plug them in, of course, but they are wireless, and you'd have pretty decent stereo sound. I'm talking about the Nest speaker that kind of looks like a sandwich standing on its end. and, and they do have surprisingly good sound. Of course, Sonos could be an option as well if you wanted to go down that path. That's what I have in my workshop. I have 2 Sonos speakers, and then I'm able to cast my audio to them. So that's an option potentially, but I still keep on coming back to the soundbar, and again, unless it's for music. And so or if you actually go out there and watch big blow 'em up movies, and that's why you want the surround, because you mentioned that you want 4 or 5 speakers. So maybe you do, in fact, want surround. And then maybe you look at it an inexpensive soundbar and remote rear speaker option. And there are a number of those. I don't personally have any experience with any, so I don't know which to recommend.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we need to know the use cases better. Because, yeah, if you are using this as a home theater, then that does change things too. So there's some options there. Hopefully that will get you going. But Kevin, thank you so much for reaching out. Let us know either what you decided to go with or some more clarification around what you're doing, and maybe we might have some better suggestions for you. But I don't. When you say affordable, that to me says you're not looking to spend $1,000 on speakers, which is totally fine
for your garage, which makes complete sense, right? More than your TV cost.
Yeah, yeah. But it does matter what it is that you're trying to do with these things. So hopefully, and if it is just music, then I don't think you even need 4 speakers. Just get 2 speakers and a sub, unless they're 2 giant speakers. And heck, it could be like 2 giant speakers that somebody's selling at a garage sale. You know, like they don't have to be the world's greatest speakers, especially if they're big. What's the best way to make speakers sound really awesome? Make them bigger. It's like, right? I mean, Richard's laughing at me so hard he had to mute to cough. But that's how we did home theater in the 80s and 90s. Everyone just had massive speakers.
Big speakers.
Yes. Yes. All right. Well, let's get into the news for this week. Again, thank you so much for the listener feedback. We will have the rest of our contact information at the end of the show, but you can always find all of it over at the website, www.thedigitalmediazone.com. Okay, so our video news. Paramount. They are jumping on board the name change game, and they are also changing the name of their streaming service, sort of, but only like parts of it, I guess, because Paramount's core streaming service is called Paramount Plus. But their top tier, because all of their tiers have different names, is called Paramount Plus with Showtime, because it, in addition to like giving you almost no ads, gives you access to Showtime. But the name is a little unwieldy. It's really long, and they had somebody in their product organization throw a wrench in things and said, you know, it'd be really great if we offered some Showtime content on some of these lower tiers. And then someone who's super pedantic like me said, but we can't call it Paramount Plus with Showtime unless it's the only tier that has Showtime content. So they all had to sit around for, I'm sure, weeks of meetings to come up with a new name for this. And they did. The top tier is now called Paramount Plus Premium.
So, excuse me while I revive a phrase from the 80s, gag me. This is so redundant. It's just beyond annoying. But I get it. I get why they did it, because, you know, it's already got a plus, so you can't. I mean, you could do plus, but that would confuse programmers. And I don't get it. But whatever. I mean, yeah. At least it seems like there was a decent reason for this name change as opposed to the whole HBO thing, but we can get to that later.
Yeah. Yeah, like the reason makes sense. I'm totally fine with them changing that. Like, I think it's partly the branding thing about Showtime and making it an easier name. And so kind of coming up with some different names there makes sense to me. But Paramount Plus Premium, while I love alliteration, and the triple P is great, but like you said, plus as a suffix and the word premium as a suffix sounds like you're just adding more and more superlatives to the end of the name of your company. So what's next? Like Paramount Plus Premium Mega Ultra Super Remix? Like what is that's the only part of this that I don't like.
it kind of doesn't matter because in a year or so, they're going to have to rebrand everything anyway to Skydance or Larry's streaming service or whatever they're going to end up calling it.
Very true. Very true. So they've just got two plans now. It's Paramount Plus Premium and Paramount Plus Essential. And again, like we said, some of the Showtime content is now coming to Essential. So that's one of the reasons here. Nothing else is really changing. The price is still miraculously, they didn't jack up the price while they did this. It's still $12.99 a month for this top tier service. So that's it for Paramount Plus. I would have also added onto this story. They've got a great deal going on that I signed up for because it was like 2 months for $2 a month or something like that. But I bet that deal's not around anymore because I did it weeks ago.
So. Yeah, maybe not.
Probably.
Maybe not. Now, I alluded briefly to the HBO Max name change. Yes, we went back to HBO Max from Max. Kind of the opposite of this. They're getting rid of the Showtime brand. HBO decided to put the HBO back in HBO Max because they felt that removing it was a bad idea. Yeah, maybe Paramount should have thought of. Okay, anyway, so
they could have just called it Plus Premium. Is that what you're suggesting?
The good news is that you do not have to download a new app like we did stupidly when they went from HBO Max to Max. It's just the same app. It just has different branding, and it's just as bad as it's always been.
Well, not having to download a new app is a big deal. And it's ridiculous that we even have to bring it up because why did they do that in the first place? So
right.
Glad they didn't repeat that mistake for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's it for our video stories this week. Let's jump into some audio news. Not a ton going on out there, but Spotify making some changes to one of their more popular features, and that is an auto-generated playlist feature called Discover Weekly. Spotify has a few different types of things like this. Discover Weekly is different than Release Radar, which is the thing that I really love. Discover Weekly, it's not just like it, to me, it sounds like it's all new music, but it's not. It's some new music, some old things, some things that you almost definitely know for sure. Some of them will be songs that you've never heard of. Probably a lot of it will be songs that you've never heard of. And it's always been based on, well, it's discover music that's similar to what you listen to already. But if you're like me and you listen to a lot of different types of music, then you end up with a Discover Weekly playlist that feels schizophrenic with how frequently it can change the genres from dance music to classical to heavy rock to metal to religious. Like it can go all over the place. And so it feels kind of insane to think about the fact that it's taken this long for them to come up with this feature, but now they've given you the ability to filter Discover Weekly down to a particular genre. And it's smart enough to not give you like 500 genres to choose from. It's the genres that appear in your Discover Weekly. They show you just the genres of the music that you would typically listen to. So if I open this up, it's going to say indie folk, EDM, classical, whatever. There might be a couple in there that will surprise you. I think easy listening showed up in mine. I don't know why. Don't listen to easy listening music. But then you can just filter it down to whatever genres you like. So it's a very nice feature to have, but again, a little bit surprising that it took as long as it did for them to build this functionality. So Richard started the show with me, but Richard lost power and may not be back this evening. So I'm going to be finishing out this show without him unless he shows up again later. So let's get on to the gaming news. And first off, the absolute worst news story that we have to discuss this week, and that is that a couple of weeks ago, Microsoft laid off thousands of people. It's rumored to be about 9,000 people were laid off from Microsoft, and a bunch of them, could be hundreds, could be thousands, were within the gaming division at Microsoft. So Xbox type developers and everybody working on all of these games. We've seen studios close and games canceled. And a lot of this is rumored, but some of it's not. So let's just talk about some of the details that we think we know, because again, most of these are rumors. Like the layoffs happened. That's not a rumor. What we can't confirm, because Microsoft won't confirm any of it directly, because it would a little bit be an invasion of privacy for those people who lost their job. So I can kind of understand why they're not. But that does leave the media to just go and talk to people and try and find out for themselves. And so what got cut? Well, some things we know for sure, because they announced that the initiative, the studio that they spun up in 2018 that had been working on a game, a Project Dark reboot, essentially, gone. The game is canceled and the studio is gone. They've shut it down. Another game that was canceled is Everwild by Rare. That game has been in development for 10 years. Turn 10 Studios, rumored to have lost about half their staff, and it being mostly the Forza Motorsport developers, not the other part of the studio that is primarily there to support the Forza Horizon series. Another one, canceled. This is again more in the rumor department. ZeniMax had been working on a sci-fi, massively multiplayer online role-playing game that's supposedly been in development since 2018. And then numerous cuts across many other studios. 343, they're the ones that make the Halo games. Sledgehammer, Raven, and High Moon all contribute to Call of Duty games. Blizzard, King, who makes mobile games, they all are rumored to have lost people in these layoffs. And I think it's most important to start with acknowledging the human aspect of this. Having thousands of people lose their jobs sucks. It's absolutely terrible to hear this kind of news, whether it's one person or 9,000 people. It's terrible to be reporting on this sort of news. I do want to look at this at a little bit of a different angle, because whenever things like this happen in the gaming industry, and unfortunately, they've been happening a lot, but let's not pretend like this is new. The gaming industry has always been a volatile industry to work in, and it's been worse the last few years, but it's also been worse across tech in the last few years, because in general, tech overhired during the pandemic. Now, is that the cause here? I don't know. We'll never know, because Microsoft isn't really going to say. But it's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. I'm really bummed for all of these people that lost their jobs. But let's talk about the response that the industry has been giving this, because so many in just gaming fandom, or even worse, in the gaming media, they're like, how could they possibly do this? Microsoft has infinite money. If they have infinite money and they bought all these studios, all of these studios thought, well, Microsoft has infinite money. My job is perfectly secure. That's not reality, folks. That's not reality at any company, even if it's a company that, fluctuates between, 1, 2, and 3 in, biggest market cap companies in the world. That still doesn't actually make sense. You know what else doesn't make sense? Working on a game for 10 years and having nothing to show for it. Working on a game since 2018 and having nothing to show for it. Working on a studio since 2018 that theoretically had many, many, many resources and having nothing to show for it. Infinite money in your parent company doesn't matter if you can't ship. You have to be able to produce quality content. If you show up for your job, no matter what your job is, and you don't deliver, you're probably not going to work there that long. That sounds really callous, and I don't want anybody to hear that and think that what I'm saying is every single person laid off was terrible at their job. No, that's probably not even close to true. But someone in these studios, and let's be realistic, probably a group of people, probably in leadership, wasn't doing the best job that they could have been doing. And it led to failed projects, and failed projects oftentimes lead to failed studios. And the really unfortunate thing is leadership can make some bad decisions and doom an entire studio with hundreds of people in it. A select few people can make enough bad choices to cause hundreds of people to lose their jobs. And that's probably the more realistic story of what happened here. Again, we'll never know for sure, but I'm kind of tired of the entire gaming, not necessarily industry. It's more the gaming media and so many of the fans just out there being like, I can't believe this company with infinite money would fire people. Well, would you rather them keep pumping money into these projects? Like, let's stop even talking about the studios. Let's just talk about the projects. Let's go Project Dark. It's been rumored to have been in trouble for literally years. Well, what's the other option here? Just keep throwing more and more and more money at it, and maybe they release a game that sucks? Or keep throwing more and more and more money at it until maybe eventually you've thrown enough money at it, hundreds of million, billions of dollars, to produce a game that doesn't suck, but it still never recoups the money that was thrown at it? These things, those decisions don't make sense. And the most unfortunate aspect of this is real people lost real jobs, and that is terrible. But let's stop pretending that a gaming studio that is owned by a company that seems like they have infinite money is just going to keep spending infinite money on projects that shouldn't have the money spent on them. Is that true in every single one of these cases? Probably not. But we don't know the details of every single one of these cases. I don't know what people lost their jobs at Raven. Were they some of their best employees working on critical aspects to Call of Duty? I'm going to go out on a limb and guess probably not. That it's probably more likely that Microsoft said, yeah, we have to make some really big cuts across all of these departments. Find the lowest performing people to cut. And sometimes those people are still doing really good work. And those are the ones that probably hurt the most. But I don't know. I never want to report on another story of layoffs again, but that's not the reality that we live in. And I am gutted for these 9,000 Microsoft employees that have lost their jobs. But let's also be a little bit realistic about how we talk about these stories. All right, let's change things up. We're going to stick with Microsoft, but some better news. Microsoft has added support for non-Xbox game libraries in the Xbox app on Windows PCs. That was a lot of words to say. If you've got a Windows PC and you've got games in Steam or in Epic, you can now make those games show up in your Xbox app in the library. So right now, this is still an insider preview. You've got to join the Xbox Insider functionality, which is free to do, but it's a little bit of a pain to sign up for it. Once you do that and you're running the Xbox Insider app on your Windows PC, they'll just start showing up. And then as you install new games from Steam or Epic, they will show up in the My Library section of the Xbox app. And you can launch them right from the Xbox app. You know, I've got Art of Rally that I purchased through Epic Games years ago. And now when I open up the Xbox app on my Legion Go, I see Art of Rally in the My Library section. Now, there's some big caveats here. Some of them make a lot of sense. The first one is, it will only show you the games that you actually have installed on your device. And I think that's probably for the best. Because, I don't know, maybe this is just me and my friend group, but we've all been tricked into buying so many games during Steam sales that were like, oh yeah, I always wanted to play that game and now it's on sale for $4. Buy. And so we have these massive Steam libraries of games that we're probably never going to play, or we're certainly not going to get around to playing anytime soon. So, I've got 50 games in my Steam library, which is nothing compared to most people. But the only ones that show up in the Xbox app are the ones that I actually have installed. So if I want Disco Elysium to show up in the Xbox app, I need to open up Steam and install it first, and then it shows up there. So if you want certain games to show up there, there is a little bit of extra work. You do have to go in and install them first. The other thing is that some of the filtering in the My Library section doesn't really apply to games from other systems. So there is a filter for installed because the library is typically showing all of the Xbox/Windows Store games that you've purchased. And there are plenty of Xbox/Windows Store games that I've purchased that are not installed on my machine. So filtering it down to just those that are installed makes a lot of sense. However, that doesn't apply to games from other stores like Epic and Steam. Will they add that eventually? My guess is they probably will, but it's not there right now. So maybe they're adding some of these features as they work on this. But right now, it's only for insiders, which basically means this is beta functionality. They're not done. So maybe some of those types of features end up making their way into the final version that we expect to ship this fall, sometime before the end of the year, probably to coincide with that Asus ROG Ally, Xbox Ally, whatever the names are of the ones that they announced during Summer Game Fest. But if you want access to it now, it doesn't cost you anything. You can just get into the insider ring for Xbox and download that to your Windows 11 PC. Okay, one more story. I really kind of just wanted to use this story to poke fun at Richard, and that makes it a whole lot less fun now that he's not here. But Naughty Dog, their main studio head, Neil Druckmann, has decided he's going to step away from production of The Last of Us, the television show, and just go back to focusing on game development back at his studio, Naughty Dog Entertainment. So why is this fun for me to poke fun at Richard? Because I didn't think season 2 was that great of The Last of Us. What was my favorite episode? The one that Neil Druckmann directed, the flashback episode. Now he's not going to be involved at all. And I told everybody, I am very worried that they are adding a bunch of stuff to this second season because they want to make this bigger and bigger and bigger, probably adding on even more content that wasn't in the original game. And the last time HBO did this was with Game of Thrones, and it didn't end well. And that is exactly what it looks like they're going to do with The Last of Us. How long are we going to have to wait to find out? Well, the news today is that season 3 isn't coming out until 2027. So we've got a couple of years to find out what The Last of Us season 3 will look like without Neil Druckmann's fine hand at the wheel. We'll see. I do not have high expectations for that season. I had fairly low expectations even when I thought Neil Druckmann would be working on it. And now this isn't going to be good. Sorry. Okay, so let's go into what's going on in our entertainment centers. And I really wanted Richard here for this, but we'll start with games. Still slowly but surely working my way through Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Really like it, but hey, my life has been crazy, so there hasn't actually been that much time for games. I think one time in the last month, I got to play the Division 2 Battle for Brooklyn expansion with my friends. I've been able to play a few hours in very small increments of the new game Rematch. I don't think I talked about this on the last episode because I don't think it was out yet. It is it's funny. The comparisons, these are all perfect. So, I don't know, 10 years or so ago, a game came out called Rocket League, and everyone described it as soccer, but with cars instead of people. And Rematch is Rocket League, but with people instead of cars. It is. And you're like, wait, that's just soccer. Yes, that is. That is what soccer is. That is what Rematch is. But it feels more arcadey like Rocket League, but not so insane that you're like flying up in the sky and stuff like that. It's still somewhat realistic arcadey soccer. And I think it's really fun. I like it way more than I ever liked Rocket League. And so I've been playing a fair amount of that because it's on Game Pass and it works great on Xbox. It works really well on my Legion Go. So yeah, a match is 6 minutes long. So I've actually been able to make time for a few matches of Rematch every now and then. So if you have Xbox Game Pass, go and check out Rematch. It's on Xbox and on Windows PC. I also did the unthinkable. Richard will remember that years ago, for a time period of about 2009-ish, 2010, until about 2013, I didn't play very many regular video games at all, because instead I was spending all of my time that I would normally spend gaming with iRacing, a hardcore, probably the most hardcore online sim racing. Like, I mean, it's easy to just call it a game, but most iRacers don't even call it a game. They feel like that's doing it a disservice because it's real racing with real people with some of the most realistic physics and racing simulation available. And I've been missing it for years and years and years. And I had been wondering, would iRacing work on my Legion Go? Now, I'm not talking about playing it on the handheld screen with thumbsticks and all of that stuff. Like, they've added controller support. That would probably work. That's not what I'm looking for. I want to get my steering wheel out, hook the Legion Go up to my monitor, play with my steering wheel and my pedals the way that it's meant to be played so that I can actually work on becoming a better race car driver. And so I thought, what the heck? Let's just sign up. Well, we can sign up for a month. It's like $13 a month. Let's just try it. Let's see if it works. See if it scratches that itch. It does. And I'm going to try not to let it completely dominate my life for the next few years like it did the last time. But it's really good. It's really good. It's still not crazy demanding, given the fact that I'm playing it on my Legion Go gaming handheld should tell you that. Could it use a more powerful machine? Absolutely. I'm not going to get 120 frames per second anywhere on this device, but it's working. I'm getting 60 frames per second at a lower resolution and all of that. And it's fine. It's fine. It doesn't look great. I don't need it to look great. I just need to be able to see what's going on enough to be able to drive laps around the track and not crash into other people while I'm doing it. So we'll see how long iRacing stays in the what's going on in my entertainment center. I've also been in the movies a bunch in the last few weeks. This is my favorite time of year for movies, right? It's all of the big action movies. We went and saw Mission Impossible Final Reckoning. I loved it. So many good throwbacks to the first movie. I really liked it. Is it like the greatest movie ever? No, it's a summer blockbuster and it was a lot of fun and I really, really enjoyed it. Also went and saw F1 the movie. I really liked that movie. I was a little bit nervous. Like, is this going to be really cheesy? It wasn't cheesy. They do have to explain a fair amount of things to people, but even the way they explain the world of Formula One, it doesn't feel like overly patronizing to Formula One fans and probably explains things enough to the casual viewer who maybe doesn't understand all of the intricacies of Formula One. You do not need to be a Formula One fan to enjoy this movie. You don't even really need to be a racing fan to enjoy this movie. It's a good sports movie set in the world of F1 with real F1 drivers in the movie. Is it completely realistic? No. Is it fairly predictable? Yeah. Is it super entertaining? Absolutely. Is the cinematography fantastic? 100%. It's really good. If you can see it in theaters, you should. I really enjoyed F1, the movie. So did my family. Lastly, one of our best friends is a huge Jurassic Park fan. She loves Jurassic Park, and we were hanging out with them for the 4th of July and saw it and thought, why don't we all go see the new movie together? And so the next day, we went and saw Jurassic World Rebirth. Wow. So predictable. Like, if you think Formula One is predictable, Jurassic World Rebirth is even more predictable, way more predictable. But it's still good fun. Like, it's still dinosaurs trying to eat people, or in some cases, eating people, and people making really dumb choices related to dinosaurs. It's fun. I enjoyed it a lot. Am I going to go out and watch it a bunch more times? No, but it was, I didn't feel like I wasted my money. Again, go see it on a big screen. It's the way these movies are meant to be seen, and you will enjoy it a whole lot more that way. In terms of TV, we're still sort of watching The Night Agent, but we've been too busy to really watch much more of that. And then in books, I started a new book from the recommendation of a good friend. She said, Josh, you love audiobooks. You should listen to A Gentleman in Moscow. And she said, it's historical fiction. And I said, all right, I've never really read any of this. I'll be honest, I've never really read a book like this before. It is almost more of like a memoir. And I'm pretty sure it's all fiction. I don't think it's based on a real person. It is an extremely well-written book about a Russian man, obviously, in Moscow, who during like the Bolshevik Revolution is sentenced to house arrest in a very nice hotel in Moscow because he's an aristocrat. And it's pretty much just his life story after being put on house arrest in this hotel. And that sounds like, well, is there anything interesting that happens? Yeah, there is. There's a lot of really interesting things that happen. And so it's a pretty good book. Am I going to rush out to read more books like this? Maybe not, but I'm almost done. And I'm glad that I've read it because it has been an enjoyable story. And again, really, really well told. So if this is the sort of book that you might be interested in, you should check it out. It's a little bit longer for an audiobook. It's like 16 or 17 hours, but it's really, really well done. So that book is called A Gentleman in Moscow. All right, well, that's going to do it for this week's episode. If you want to get a hold of us, we're all over the place. I'm still sort of on Twitter at Josh Pollard. Like, I'm there, but you're not going to see me posting much over there. You're more likely to see me on Blue Sky. Again, Josh Pollard over there. And the website is still only on Twitter and Instagram at DigiMediaZone. Richard is primarily on Mastodon. He's Richard Gunther there. He is on Blue Sky, richardgunther.com over there. All of that contact information, that sounds like a lot. It's all in our show notes at www.thedigitalmediazone.com. There are links to all of those things, links to every story that we talked about in this episode, links to our YouTube channel where you should go and like and subscribe, and everything else that we've got available. It's there in our show notes because that's going to do it for episode 689. He was Richard Gunther while he was here, and I'm Josh Pollard. Thanks for listening to Entertainment 2.0. Adios.